And hello, everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And today we are going to go over my top 5 Disney movies. So, 2 weeks ago, we went over Ian's, who kind of did a top 7?
Yeah, there was officially a top 5, but there were 2 that extra that just found their way in there. So,
And I'm doing my version of the top 5. So I will say this is, as any Disney fan knows, it's harder than you think when you actually
super hard.
start thinking of the entire library of Disney movies. Now, granted, Ian 2 weeks ago had laid out the rules without consulting me, but thank God.
I set rules for myself just so I would narrow it down somehow.
And I have to use those same rules to keep it, organized. But we have the rules of animation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember any others. But hey,
it was animated and either produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios or Pixar. I think that was what it was.
Yes.
Something like that.
So Brave Little Toaster will not be on here. Just so y'all know.
Correct.
Not that I put it as my top anyways, because let's be honest. It's fun, it's cute, but that's not worthy of the top 5. So when I went into looking at what my top 5 are, here I'm going to wax on a little bit like before you get into a recipe. So back in the day of... I literally just sat here going, okay, well, what are the first bunch of movies that come to mind? Because a favorite movie is going to be one of the ones that you recall instantly. It's one of the ones that, when you're thinking, yes, I want to sit down and I want to watch a Disney movie, what's the list that comes to mind? And from there, I sorted it out a little bit more. Okay. So I did a little bit better than Ian. And I'm going to start with my number 5, which is Sleeping Beauty. And Sleeping Beauty, I love because the artistry behind that movie is amazing. It is such a beautiful feature. And the singing, I love Aurora's singing. I love the story premise behind it. I love that pretty much it's not the princess saving herself, which I know sounds contrary to what you'd want it to be, but I could care less about the princess, so I'm fine with pushing her off to the edge and watching the rest of the story. And
fair enough.
Maleficent is my number 1 villain. And anybody who knows me knows that I am a Disney villain. If I were to identify as anything, I am not a princess. I'm a villain, and Maleficent is my girl. And so I had to bring attention to that movie. That movie is my number 5. And I think it's because I identify with Maleficent so much because she's just over everybody's bull.
Right.
She's like, whatever. You don't want to invite me to the party? Fine. I'll still give her a present. Wink, wink.
Right.
Let me just do everything that anybody has been shunned wants to do.
Right.
And that speaks to my soul. Now, number 4 is a tie. And this is where I pull an Ian a little bit because I couldn't put these in order. So I don't
get all high and mighty on me, Crystal.
I do have technically more than 5, but they're in a specific order. So tied for 4th is Aladdin and Hercules.
Okay. Yeah, I could get that.
Aladdin and Hercules are 2, made out of nothing small town guys that all of a sudden get this power. They don't know what the heck to do with it. And since I am big into mythology and religious mythos, I love that it gives acknowledgement to the Greek pantheon as well as Allah. And so it's part of the Disney Renaissance where they were back to back to back, and they were amazing and wonderful, you know, features. But, you know, I couldn't figure out which, and they were too similar for me to be like, okay, this one's number this and this one's number this.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Trust me.
I mean, you were able to just choose one. I wasn't. I just
but I did end up having two more. So there's that.
True, but none of them were like similar like this. So that's where I feel okay wrapping it up into one. Not to mention the female character in both of them are strong-willed, sassy women that are like, I don't need no man.
Yeah.
Megara's just like, no, I'm going to manipulate this one. And
I love her.
Jasmine's like, I am not a prize to be won.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, both of you just be strong women.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And both of the main heroes get knocked back down to their roots, and then they have to show that it doesn't matter that they didn't have their strength, power, genie, whatever behind them, you know, godhood, that they can do it themselves. So I mean, it's just, they're so identical. But
they are eerily similar for sure.
But the music's amazing as well.
It is. Thanks,
so,
Mencken.
Tied for fourth, 2 movies. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me.
Good. I'm not mad. I have nothing that I could possibly get mad about at this point.
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3. And Ian, I'm not sure if you're going to be a little shocked with where this landed, but number 3 is The Great Mouse Detective.
Okay. Wow. I know that like that's like a cornerstone of your Disney life, that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's kind of true for me too. Like there's movies that that are really cornerstones of my Disney life, but they aren't necessarily like my number one. But that is interesting. What's your reasoning for not making that higher?
So there were other ones that made me cry.
Okay.
And those are the 2 that went into 2 and 1.
Okay.
The Great Mouse Detective didn't make me cry.
Sure.
But it was definitely, like you said, a cornerstone of my youth. It's a Disney movie that I grew up with. So I'm a little bit older than you are. I was in the quote unquote dark ages of the Disney world, the Disney production.
Disney world, yeah.
As I was growing up with my formative years. So I loved the detective investigation aspect, because when you're little, you have no idea that, you know, all of this is a regular trope and that Sherlock Holmes is a huge, you know, thing.
Yeah. Basil.
But you're like, oh, that mouse is so smart. And oh, that rat is so evil, but it's amazing. It talks about, and he sings about drowning children, and it makes me happy. I mean, wait, what? Again,
what?
Villain.
Whoa. Wow.
Not that I would actually do that, let's be honest. No. But, you know, Boris Karloff is bae.
Yeah.
So Great Mouse Detective is number 3 for me, and it's because I will put that on before any of the others that I've spoken of prior.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Moana.
Yeah.
Moana is a movie that I have cried at, and anybody who knows me knows that I don't cry at like anything, especially any production, movie, animation, doesn't matter if it's on the television.
Right.
I don't have emotions.
Right.
But Moana made me cry, and I am obsessed in love. # would marry the soundtrack.
Right.
I mean, Ian, you can even speak to how often I would reference it, pull it up in the first, 2 years that it came out. That was that was our version of Frozen.
Oh yeah, for me, oh absolutely. Like when you look at like just the depth and character of that show, like the music is just so well ingrained into everything. It's yeah, it just like just talking about that score gives me goosebumps.
The
It's so
music,
good.
the character development, the
Yeah.
diversity, the acknowledgement of, again, different cultures,
Mhm.
the uh I mean, I love everything about that movie. Like, there is not one thing that I would change in that
The
whole movie.
the pig was pointless. Sorry. Kidding.
They've already changed that, so I don't have to worry about it. Hey
Yeah.
Hey is the sidekick, not Pua.
Yes. Hey
Hey
Hey is
Hey is the
absolutely the
sidekick.
sidekick.
Yeah,
Why did they not start that? Anyway, it's fine. I'm fine.
it's okay. It's over. We're we're still not over it, but it's over.
I know. We're not over it.
It's
Alan Tudyk went to Juilliard.
okay. It's okay. And then
Oh
my
god.
my number one movie is Meet the
Yes.
Robinsons.
Which I knew you liked that movie, but I didn't know that was going to be at number 1. I figured it'd be in the top 3.
Meet the Robinsons came at a time when I felt abandoned and alone. My life was in turmoil. I had made the decision at that point to disassociate myself from my family,
Mhm.
and I was feeling very alone
Mhm.
and trying to figure out who I was, what was going on, how do I identify? Do I want to keep pulling back to an old image of a life like,
Mhm.
he did, and or do I want to keep moving forward?
Mhm.
And so that's a movie where it showed me to embrace the weird. It showed me
Yeah.
to embrace the different. It
Mhm.
showed me that you don't actually have to be blood family to have that same devotion and protection and connection to.
Yeah.
And it spoke to me in a way that no other movie had, either
Yeah.
before or since. And
Yeah.
so I know it is one of the movies that most people either don't know exist just because it was after the Disney Renaissance, but before Frozen came out.
It
Let's
was
be
a
honest, that
weird
was the
time.
kind of
It was before
revive.
Tangled came out. It was like way early.
But it was a movie that spoke to me on so
Yeah.
many different levels about finding who you are, being okay with who you are, knowing that as you move forward and keep moving forward, as long as you're true to yourself, you will be happy and you will find happiness. You will find your family, your crew, your gang, the group that will make you feel fulfilled and allow you to be who you are when you need to be.
Yeah.
And so that's why that movie is number one, top for me, hands down. If
It's yeah. That's well. It's interesting. First of all, we had like some serious backstory here. That was exciting.
yeah.
Um, but on top of that, it's interesting because it seems to kind of align with how what my logic was for my number 1 pick. Because Inside Out came at a time that was very much aligned with a lot of transition in my life. Um, and it spoke. It's funny because it's like it was like a story that spoke to me in a very specific moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that the movies that we picked as our number ones were not just like Moana or like it's just, I love that soundtrack. Like it's a movie that had like a very specific reason that kind of latched itself on to us. It's kind of a core part of who we are, and it's had an impact on some part of our lives.
Yeah. It's what I
It's
think is
interesting.
so amazing about Disney movies. And yes,
Hmm.
there are other production companies that come out with just as meaningful movies, but there is
Yeah.
not a single one that I can think of that hits so many
Hmm.
different avenues, stages of life, hardships, overcomings, stories of growth that you can depend on having a story that will make you feel good, but you feel like you've grown and learned as a person when you watch it.
Yeah.
No, we're not counting Cars 2 because Mater being an international spy is a completely different thing. But
I have not seen that movie. I won't. I
oh my
won't do
god,
it.
I'm sorry I spoiled it.
I'm not. I'm not. I don't.
But
Nope.
can you think of another production house that regularly puts out such heartfelt movies as Disney does?
No, not really. I mean, not in the space of family animation. Not even remotely.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that is one of the reasons. And you can totally agree with me or, speak your own piece to this, but that's one of the main reasons why I am such a diehard Disney girl, because they will always speak to you in one way or another. You're always able to learn something from a Disney movie, grow, or, just it connects.
Yeah, there's always some sort of takeaway. There's a relatable component to everything, and it depends on the film, but based on the depth and breadth of their library of content, like something, at least something, is going to strike you in a way that's much more deep and meaningful than you ever expected.
Mm-hmm. Maybe,
And I
maybe
absolutely agree with that.
you have a neighbor that didn't invite you to their child's first christening, and you felt like you were being ostracized, and therefore you needed to just randomly show up with your Raven Diablo and, give the
Yeah,
gift of a curse to a child. I mean, I understand.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. or just but the problem now is like Maleficent has been sort of ruined for me by Kristen Chenoweth, so whatever, it's fine.
Another time and another time. Don't you want to be evil like me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
oh my
copyright,
god.
not gonna sing it.
Not we're yep, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. That's super funny.
But yeah, so that is my top quote unquote 5. Again, just to recap, Sleeping Beauty is number 5, a tie for number 4, which is Aladdin and
Yep.
Hercules. 3 is The Great Mouse Detective, 2 is Moana, and then 1 is Meet the Robinsons.
Nice.
Any comments you want
That's
to
a
make, Ian? Any
I
patterns, anything?
no. I think if I
Are you shocked?
can I'm not shocked. I was mildly surprised by the order of a couple, but I was not surprised by the ones that popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Um I I'm trying to think. There's not a anything from Pixar in there, right?
I mean, I think Moana is the Disney animation house, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know it's the digital animation, so
I know. Well, and it gets so goofy now because they're like they don't share any of the same stuff, but
they
they're
used
technically
to. Check out that
they
episode.
did. Check out that episode if you're. I'll find a card for YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. It's dorky as all get out, but if you're interested, I
It's
did a
okay.
real deep dive.
There's a big
Um,
difference.
there is a big
I mean,
difference,
it's
and
it's
yeah,
totally high Disney nerd, but there is a
yeah,
big difference between
big
Pixar
difference.
and Disney
There
animation
is.
houses.
And it's as much and I focused on the technical aspect when I was doing my thing, but it's just as much about story. So there's
Mm-hmm.
really only one Disney princess who was Pixar, so kind of gives
That's
you an
very
idea.
true.
Yeah,
But um,
cool.
yeah, this has been my list. So Crystal's top 5
Crystal's fine.
um,
Ooh, 5-ish.
list of Disney animated movies. And this has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.